Hi, I'm Jax.
And I'm Sassy Jax.
And today we're going to recap our 2020 Crafty Goals with Amalia
for July.
You guys, July has been so crazy. I put up a fence, I rearranged the garden, I weeded my heart out, I chipped every single garden that I have.
Except one.
I'm just waiting for everything to come into its full maturity. I've had the opportunity to share green bean, basils, and carrots with family, and I'm really proud of that I got to grow and share food with people. I definitely love gardening. It's a passion of mine. This year is the first year I've ever grown tomatoes. This is also my first year at planting carrots, butternut squash, basil, oregano, thyme, sage, cabbage, all kinds of different things. If you want your garden to really thrive, it's a ton of work and it's worth every second. I find this therapeutic and a great exercise for me that I can handle close to home. It involves just me, so I don't necessarily need to be around a lot of people.
And in this day and age, that's a good thing.
I'm not sure what the theme is for this month's collab. My personal theme at this point is perseverance. There's so many times I've just wanted to quit, just feel like there's so much work and I don't want to go out and water today, or I don't want to go weed, but I do it. I find a lot of satisfaction and joy knowing that I helped create this sanctuary, and hopefully it becomes a little bit of heaven for you as well. I've spent some time reorganizing and putting up a garden fence. My dahlias haven't started to bloom,
but they're preparing.
My cabbage is slowly taking off. Brussels sprout, it did just rain, so my hydrangea is taking a break. I've been fighting this basil to try and keep it from blooming. I think I've lost the battle. Check out that zucchini. Let's not forget the stevia that's right next door.
Take a leaf of the stevia and a leaf of spearmint or mint, roll them up, put them in your mouth, chew them up, and it tastes like a peppermint.
Let's see what's inside. Oh, got some little babies in there. Right next door, I have butternut squash, and they are busy, busy, busy. I have some beefsteak tomatoes and some subarctic tomatoes. I have more basil over here, more tomatoes, but check out that gladiola. It is starting to bloom. Here's one, there's the other. These two gladiolas haven't really taken off just yet,
but there's hope.
Here I have tomatoes, nasturtium, and carrots. This bin has nasturtium, tomatoes, and carrots as well. Ooh, and a weed.
Get that out of here.
Check out all those nasturtiums. Now these flowers you can eat, and they taste kind of peppery. They're very good in salads.
And they're a great companion plant too. The tomato.
This gladiola is about to go.
How exciting.
Oh, that poor hydrangea. Carrots, nasturtium, and tomatoes. And we move on to my potatoes, carrots, and tomatoes. Red cabbage and carrots.
And tomatoes.
One of the newest things I'm working on is a fence. I'm going to try and fence in the backyard. Standing here, we swap to the other garden. I'm kind of disappointed by my hollyhocks, but this is the first year and I anticipated that they would get much higher, but they did not. And I planted some zinnias, and look at my corn. I also did some work with the wood chip and added a small fence and some hose guards. Inside the corn, I decided to plant some additional onions that I had left over, along with some sunflower seeds. Apparently at some point I must have thrown some, and now I have a bazillion sunflowers coming up. If you remember last year, I had zinnias in front of the window and a ton of sunflowers right here. This year I chose to use that space and plant corn and beans. The front row is yellow beans and the back row is green beans. Check out that orange blaze pepper.
It's not orange yet.
And that's a beautiful peony in the back. That's a first year transplant, so I don't expect any blooms this year. Some transplanted chives and some more peppers. Check out those 4 o'clocks. I've got the corn garden and I got my perennial garden. I also created a few more gardens back there. But standing right here, I've got wildflower garden, my zinnia garden, and my vegetable garden. Behind the septic mound, there's a fence. I want to put the fence all the way back to that pole and across and then over. Once that fence is up, I'll be able to take this willow tree down.
It's not a willow tree anymore.
Okay, so we had a willow tree here. We took it down, but you can't kill a willow. So now I have a willow bush. When Brutus is out, I've got a road in the front and a road here. And behind this fence, that's another road. It's just not safe for him when I'm watching him. Also, it'd be really great if I could have a little bit of privacy. Here is another zucchini plant.
That looks like it's happy to see you.
I decided once the radishes were done to add these onions, and they're doing really well. It was better than letting them go bad, you know what I mean? So I put them in the ground and let them live their life. Here I have, I believe, 2 different kinds of cucumbers, cucumber munchers, little leaf cucumbers. This is a green onion that the top fell off, and I just left the bulb in there just to see what would happen. Peas.
I want to eat one.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, so good. I want another one.
Twist my arm. Great breakfast. Busy bee.
You're on candid camera.
I just love sitting out here.
Yeah, we need another one.
These are one item that never make it inside. I mean, if they do, it's by the handful. It's never by the bucket, because I eat them. If you have a small patio or a windowsill or anything, get veggies in the dirt. A fresh vegetable off the vine. It's so much better than what you can get in any store, even the organic stuff. It just doesn't compare. And when I started gardening, I knew nothing. I knew nothing about vegetable gardening. I watched videos, I talked to friends that gardened, and I was so sick and not very mobile. I just take my time and do what I can each day, and this is the results. It has changed my life, and I can't say enough about it, but if you have the ability, or if you've ever wanted to try, do it. Try. Just make a small little lettuce garden.
And peas. Bro peas.
Speaking of lettuce, this is what I have left of my Grand Rapids leaf lettuce garden. It is officially over. It basically was really good until the end of June, and then it just went bitter. So I ripped it out and I gave the plants to a friend that had chickens. Here is another zucchini. Very happy to see me. Here is the other side of the pea garden. These are onions that I'm gonna leave in the ground until they get very big. I know when I planted them, I didn't really give them enough space. These onions, these cucumbers, and I have some dill. I'm going to be making some relish. Cross my fingers. This is my biggest one, and I have one there. I have lots of baby ones, but they're really not taking off. I mean, maybe they are, and I just don't know it yet. I have a lot of blossoms. I'm just gonna give it time. Forget-me-nots. I'm not sure what that is right there, that purple, because I just threw a bunch of seeds back here that were like cut flowers or whatever, and that's why they're so wild right now. These are bachelor buttons, a fire something daylily, a bleeding heart with a poppy, yellow, pink, red. I mean, seriously, that was just a fluke that I planted those, and I love them. Anyway, the star of the show is the Stargazer Lily that I have been waiting 2 years for it to bloom.
2 years.
Because last year when I planted it, it had one bud on it and it was eaten by a deer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 buds on it. Hopefully he's in focus because I can't see. My camera is going kaput. Okay, I'm not sure what I got of that because I can't get my camera to focus. I'm lucky I got to see it in real life, and hopefully it comes through on the camera for you as well.
You're so glorious.
Only 10 o'clock. It's so warm. Yesterday was 88 degrees with like 70% humidity. It was awful. I'm gonna show you my raspberry and blueberry bush. Oh no, I forgot this garden. Right next to the zucchinis is my zinnia and morning glory moonflower vine garden. So these zinnias are my favorite flower in the garden because they offer so much color, so much joy. They're a great pollinator. They bloom and bloom and bloom. You don't necessarily need to deadhead them. Their foliage is bright green and so lush and beautiful. It looks like a fairy tale. These are the Grandpa Ott Morning Glory. I've yet to get a moonflower, so I don't know what they look like. They're supposedly supposed to be white. I don't know if they bloom at night and I miss them, or if they are a late bloomer. All I do know about them is that they're the terrorists of my garden, and they grow and grow and grow and grow and grow, and I don't see many blooms. So maybe they're just trying to establish their territory and then they take off? Who knows? Check this out. Morning Glory and Moonflower wrapped into one, and they're taking out my exotic Basanova orange begonia.
Crazy.
You have a clematis in here as well. I have one on the other side here, which is right here. Clematis like to have their roots cool. I placed this petunia bin down there so that their roots would be protected before the zinnias popped up. And now that the zinnias are popped up, I don't know if I can get that out because now the petunias have started growing up the trellis as well. So this is the Basanova orange exotic begonia. This is the Porfinio sunrise begonia, and you can see why, because they're gorgeous. This guy is struggling a little bit, but I moved him back here and he's doing way better. He's coming back from the dead. He was just getting too much sun, but he loves it back here by the air conditioner. This side of the fence is empty, but don't worry, the morning glory is starting to take over. The moonflower is not far behind. Let's continue moving on. This is where the fence will end. It'll go along the parking over here, go to here, to the end, and back over. This is a blueberry bush. When I transplanted it, it got scorched, so that is the damage from weeks and weeks ago, but I can see that it's putting on new growth. This tells me that it's establishing its roots and it could very well make it through the winter. Just a hop, skip, and a jump from the blueberry, I have a raspberry bush that has raspberries on it, which is amazing for its first year. Oh, I found one. Look at that.
I'm gonna eat it.
It's doing well. It had a leader on it, and that leader is already big, and it's gonna be growing this way and hopefully that way. These are super petunias.
Get in my belly.
I just love watching them.
Ooh, it thinks I'm a flower.
This is what the garden looks like from this end. This used to be open,
But I closed it.
but this is the view from the other side. All right, let's check out the last bit of the garden. This is a grape vine. Looks like some of them aren't making it, but I might get some good ones. I'd like it to go up and go along the fence line. The perennials that I have in this garden were clearance items. I had no idea what they were. They were really kind of mature plants that typically would be $40 to $50. We got them for $10, and I think some were even less than that. I mean, we bought them at the end of the season last year. I think it was end of September, and that's how we got these so cheap. I had to get them in the ground as soon as possible and hope that their roots established in time for the winter. Luckily, we had a lot of snow, which helped insulate the roots, and everything survived except one item, which is over there, and I'll tell you about it. This is a 9-bark. It gets 6 feet tall and 6 feet wide, which is why it's got a little bit of room around it. The old growth is burgundy. The new growth is green. A bobo hydrangea, which is just starting to bloom. Right next to it, I have a Russian sage, and behind that, I have a Weigela. So my dianthus and my meadow sage have all kind of blossomed. But behind that, I have coreopsis and coneflower. Coneflower is a powwow wildberry, and both of those are perennials. Next to that, I have some beard's tongue or penstemon, and in the middle there is a liatris. Anybody that is new here that has not seen this garden in the spring, I have over 600 tulip bulbs in here, and I'll put that picture up now so that you can see what this empty space is filled with. I had everything come back except one thing, and that was my mum. The mum lasted for the season, but it didn't come back, and I planted a Ruby Black-Eyed Susan here, and this has now died as well. Something must have been poured here at some point, or some kind of, I don't know, but nothing survives here.
This is where you put containers.
This container is full of a calla lily. I'm not exactly sure of the kind, but it's beautiful when it's in bloom, and maybe I have a picture of that. This is what I've got left right now. But these are not a zone 3 plant, so I chose not to put it in the ground because I didn't want to dig it up. Definitely need to do a ton of weeding, and this is the concentration of most of the tulips. And I chose not to grow anything here because when this tree produces apples, I like to be able to step through here and harvest the apples at the end of the season without wondering if I'm stepping on anything. We didn't get much rain in the early spring. There's probably only 2 branches on this tree that actually has apples.
There will not be apple pie this season.
This is a black-eyed Susan.
If this girl is not watered on time, she wilts like nobody's business.
Next to it is a hydrangea that was transplanted last year. These are a bunch of asters that are slow, but I'm thinking they need full sun all the time, and this does get a bit of shade. Next to that, I have a spearmint, a lupin, wild strawberries, a bee balm. I deadheaded it, and now the blossoms are going to start again. A purple delphinium. It was well over 6 feet tall. We had a bunch of bad storms and it broke off. This is some new garden that I put in this year. I always have my petunias in containers on the fence. Here I have some dill, which is falling over onto my asparagus.
Oh, you smell so beautiful. Oh, you're gorgeous, gorgeous.
Check out the little blooms on the asparagus.
I'm pretty sure that's where fairies live.
Here is a young asparagus. I did plant 2-year-old roots into the ground, so I could harvest these, but I'm choosing not to. I really want these roots to establish themselves well before I stop chopping their heads off. And here I also have some wild strawberries and more asparagus. A bunch of yarrow. I think they're beautiful blossoms, and they have such unique foliage. I have my mojito mint, Victoria rhubarb. I started it from seed this year. I hope that it enjoys its life here. Massive row of phlox, and I'm so excited because they're just starting to bloom over there. I also planted shorter phlox when I put the chip in, and you can see they're just starting to peep through the chip, and I'm really excited about that because this is purple and the phlox that I planted are pink. So it'll be purple and pink. This is a lavender. This is a lemon balm. Some marigolds. This garden definitely changed once I put the wood chip down. It gets hit with sun all day on this side, and on this side it's shade. This side would require so much water, and the wood chip now keeps that more moist. And you can tell because the strawberries are putting on more growth and the rhubarb is starting to really sprout. Mint is starting to put on new growth. It's getting hot. And my camera has overheated 4 times. I have one last thing I need to show you, and I'm so excited about that. Other than these glorious hosta. That is how close I am to the road. It's right next to my garden, and the garden gets bigger. People like to look at it, which is wonderful. I love them looking at it, but don't touch. The fence will come in handy when people are walking up to get ice cream. Next year, remember, I'm gonna have a fence. 4-footer right here and a 6-footer in the back. This garden will then be in the backyard. I now have a blue moon wisteria plant. This little twig is my wisteria, and I'll put a picture on what it's supposed to look like in the future so you can see what it is. It's still kind of green here, so, and pliable, so it's still alive.
Stay alive.
Wouldn't it be cool if I had it here and I trained it to go on a trellis right there, and then turn this into more garden with, I don't know, prettier things. Oh my gosh, that was hot out there. Well, it's time to sit in my chair and rest a little bit. This has to be one of my favorite views. But I do miss those zinnias right here. They were gorgeous. I could just sit and watch the hummingbirds and the bees come up to the window. So next year, I think that corn is moving.
That's for sure.
So that's it. This is my July garden tour. Thank you so much for stopping in. If you're new to the channel, I am a crafter and a gardener, and I love doing anything creative, so you just never know what I'm gonna have on the channel. I encourage you to hit that like button and hit the subscribe button because I'd love to have you as a viewer. Thanks so much again for stopping by. Until next time, love you guts. Bye.